So today we're diving into the explosive Oval Office meeting between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, a confrontation that's sending shockwaves worldwide. I've never seen anything like it before. Normally, these kinds of tensions between world leaders will be behind closed doors, meaning it will not be televised to the world. Usually it's when a deal becomes law or a deal fails, then they announce that the deal failed or the deal was successful or a treaty was signed. We don't get to see what happens behind the scenes. And this gives a rare glimpse, and it may be a sign of things to come in this current American presidency. But it was quite unusual in the way it was publicly televised and how both presidents just went at it. So yesterday, or February 28th, to be more precise, President Zelensky visited the White House to finalize a minerals deal aimed at strengthening U.S. Ukraine economic ties. Before I get into the part where everyone is talking about where both presidents went at each other, I like to just show that in the beginning of this meeting, everything was calm. Let's get into it. It just turned ugly. So I'll play that part and then I'll give my thoughts about what made this go ugly and where we are in the Ukraine-Russia war. Let's get into it.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, you said thank you. You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I answer?
Wait a minute. No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military. If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over In 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again, just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand.
Okay. I've heard enough. Where do I start from? J.D. Vance, I believe he escalated this. Whether it was pre-planned by the American contingent to do this, I don't know. But I think he escalated this by going into this thank you business and belittling another president in the Oval Office. Zelensky has shown gratitude numerous times to the US in multiple speeches, both to the American government and the American people. In previous meetings that he's had and public addresses, whether it was at the Oscars or different places, he expressed deep appreciation for US military aid. Now, even during this meeting, he acknowledged American assistance, but he didn't overdo it. What do the American government want? Do they want him to be saying, oh, thank you, sir, thank you, every 5 minutes, thank you? No, he's a president as well. I think Trump and J.D. Vance wanted something more visible, exaggerated gratitude, which effectively is going to weaken Ukraine in any deal, right? Something very humble, almost pleading tone. No, he's not going to do that. He's a president of another sovereign nation. Number two, Trump's approach to diplomacy is transactional, not strategic alliance, but transactional. This is not business. This is real life. This is international diplomacy, right? Zelensky challenged Trump's authority by not showing an over-the-top gratitude stance, which Trump now saw as disrespectful. So who was more disrespectful? And before I even say who was more disrespectful, what even caused the disrespect? For me, the disrespect in this meeting came from both sides. Nobody comes out of this smelling of roses, right? But I think it was just they were clashing over expectations. Ukraine had their expectations. America had their expectations. There was power dynamics in the room. From Trump and J.D. Vance's point of view, they had this stance of Ukraine owes us. So Trump believed Ukraine is dependent on the US for military and financial support. That is true. But then he expected Zelensky to be more publicly grateful for US assistance. Like I said earlier, Zelensky has already done that on numerous occasions, and anybody can just do a quick YouTube search for different places where Zelensky has thanked the US people and the US government. So that has happened before. So maybe because Trump was expecting him to do it again and again and again in this particular meeting, Trump now started to belittle him by saying, you don't have the cards, meaning Ukraine, you don't have leverage. You must accept whatever the US offers you. That is not a good way to go into a negotiation, right? Trump was also suggesting that Ukraine should pay back in some way, reinforcing his transactional diplomacy style, which is not the best way to get two people at different stances to get into the middle. Now, why was Trump's view disrespectful? You don't publicly humiliate a leader whose country is at war. That damages diplomatic relations. It also made Zelensky look weak in front of the world, especially in front of Russia, who benefits from this US-Ukraine tensions. Of course, it's Russia. Trump also had a confrontational tone, almost like a boss scolding an employee, which undermines Zelensky's leadership. Like I said, he's a leader of a sovereign country as well. It doesn't work for President Trump. It doesn't work for the American people. Now, on Zelensky's side, he sees US aid as an investment in global security, not just a favor, right? He also refused to act too submissive or overtly submissive to Trump's demands for gratitude. His own stance was that Ukraine is fighting for democracy and helping Ukraine is in America's best interest. He didn't beg or overtly thank Trump, which Trump may have seen as arrogant or entitlement. And then some in the US feel Ukraine takes American support for granted, and Trump and J.D. Vance believe that Ukraine should be more appreciative and prove why they deserve this continued aid. J.D. Vance also added fuel to the fire, reinforcing Trump's position and doubling down on the idea that Ukraine isn't entitled to U.S. support. That's made the tensions even worse, in my opinion. And Vance's remarks made it harder for Zelensky to push back diplomatically. That made the tension even worse because, I mean, Zelensky couldn't go through the diplomatic approach with the way Vance was coming at him. So my conclusion, who was more disrespectful, Trump and J.D. Vance? Why? Their tone and public confrontation came off as bullying. Let's call it what it is. They were bullying Zelensky in there, saying you don't have the cards, publicly scolding another president at an international standing. It was more disrespectful. Zelensky, maybe his body language at times, the way he looked at Trump at times, his refusal to act grateful enough. Some may say that was disrespect, but was it really disrespect? He defended Ukraine's right to aid rather than playing into Trump's power play expectations. Do you think that was disrespectful as well? So my final verdict, Trump and J.D. Vance were more disrespectful because they made Ukraine's leader look weak on the world stage. However, Zelensky's response, which was justified, may have unintentionally provoked Trump further. The entire situation was a clash of ego, power, and differing views on diplomacy. However, where does that leave us? As this video is being shot, Ukraine soldiers are being killed, Russian soldiers are being killed, cost of living crisis continues to rise. The deal that they met for wasn't signed. All for what? Don't forget to put your comments down in the comment section, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next one.